You earned your keep. I will tear down the facade for a minute. Tony's one of the hardest working guys in AEW. It's the Collision started. There's kind of this division. Everybody's kind of going to go where Tony, maybe reluctantly, but still raised his hand and is one of the few guys that travels to every single show twice a week. Ring of Honor pay-per-views, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. I say Tony Schiavone and Chris Estelle, our other wardrobe guy, are the hardest working men in all elite wrestling. You see Tony on camera, you see Chris behind camera, but it's every town, every city. 66 years old, doesn't look a day over 76, but he's working really hard. He's there every week, every show, making towns. A professional, a pro's pro.
Thanks. That means a lot, Bryce. Thank you very
true.
much for that.
I see it. I was not in the wrestling world professionally as a full-time job before AEW, but I've been in AEW since day one. It's been almost 5 years. I've seen a few guys come and go, but there are a few that work as hard and prepare and take their job as seriously as Tony Schiavone.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's called the Lois effect.
Okay. You're trying to get out of the house?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's because I love the business, and when you make a commitment, you make a commitment. So thanks for saying that.
It's very true. It's very true.
It's interesting. We're watching this match here, and we're in the middle of the match, and they grab a hammerlock and go to the mat. And isn't it amazing how tag team wrestling has changed since then? There hasn't been really a dive yet.
In an opener, usually, especially nowadays, the openers, all killer, no filler, and this is just kind of part of the story they're trying to tell. This is non-title, Conrad, right?
Yeah, it might actually be on the line. I don't recall, but I do know for sure that the Brainbusters are going to steal a victory here. Not to give you a spoiler, but
no, it's okay.
I don't know if you saw, Bryce, but one of my favorite things of this match just happened a few moments ago. Tully sort of reverse wormed his body over to the corner while Brett was working a wrist lock, I guess, and he stuck his foot up so Arn could tag it. And Arn tries to jump in the ring, and Joey Morella cuts him off like, hey, you can't tag his foot. That doesn't work. But I just thought little stuff like that, when I go back and watch this, I'm like, man, I don't remember seeing that before or since very often. That was 1989. Like, these guys were clearly working on the really inside baseball mechanics of how to put together a match.
I think about things that I know about pro wrestling that are just because Gorilla Monsoon said them once. No offense to you, Tony, but he one time said a tag didn't count unless one of the partner's feet were on the apron. Like, someone was up and at him and the ref cut it off and sent him back, and Gorilla said, both of his feet were on the floor. So I just thought that was fact for the rest of my life. It's something that, Gorilla Monsoon might have said off the top of his head once, but that's it. Like, Kevin Owens says he learned English from listening to Jim Ross talk. Like, it sticks in you when you're very impressionable. That's what you remember.
Yeah, listen, Gorilla Monsoon.
Occipital protuberance. There's kind of the bread basket, which apparently is a phrase I only know from Gorilla Monsoon getting hit in the bread basket.
Yeah. Listen, Gorilla Monsoon was a standard, and don't think I didn't realize that by doing this, I was doing something that Gorilla Monsoon probably would have done, and I had a chance to work with him on Challenge, and listen, he meant a lot to me. He was one of those guys that helped guided me through the waters of the WWF back then, about what Vince liked, what Vince didn't like, how to approach your business, what to say, how to say it, and he was great. He was just great to work with.
What went into the decision to have you do the show and not Gorilla? Do you remember that, Tony?
No, I don't. I was told. Bruce Pritchard just told me when things would happen. I don't know why or when.
Was Gorilla there?
Yeah, at the show.
Yeah,
he was at all shows.
Did he? Was he like producing you? Did that happen back then? Was he in your ear at all?
No, he was at he ran the Gorilla position, and so yeah, right. So he was at that at the table that we still call the Gorilla position, and he really ran the show. He would say he would let the truck know that when the guys are going to the ring, and he would say, ring the bell. I remember he'd say that all the time. He'd tell the truck, he said, all right, they're on their way. Ring the bell. I mean, he was like
keeping it moving.
Yeah, and he was so such a big authority figure back there that everybody went, whatever he'd say is fine.
Right.
I don't even think Vince would say anything bad to him back then.
That's ironic in a way, because that role that you discussed Gorilla having, kind of the senior member kind of looking out for everybody. That's kind of the role that I have noticed you have with the AEW announcers. You look out for Ian and Caprice and these guys that we don't see every week, but you kind of, the Spanish team, Tony helps coach and assign and everything. And that's kind of the role you've inherited.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm a Gorilla Monsoon, but
no, sure. But you probably learned some of that from him, I would think.
Yeah. How to bullshit people.
How to give them bad news better.
That's right. Got bad news for you. Okay.
Were you ever produced, Tony, in the WWF? I mean, we've heard all these nightmare stories about Vince screaming in people's ear, but I don't think that was happening here in '89 yet. Was it?
It wasn't. Bruce Pritchard was my producer in my ear. Yeah. And I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff that he told me was basically from Vince, I would think. Not sure. I don't know where Vince was during the show back then. I don't think he was at the Gorilla position. He may have been, but I'm not so sure where he was comparatively. But I've said this before. There's just knowing my personality. There is no way I could do play-by-play with someone screaming in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Tony does scream in our ears, and I get that, but it's not the way I've heard Vince does.
All of Tony's screaming I have found, and he screams at us too,
Yeah.
but it's all to the service of the show.
Right.
It's all well intentioned, and it's because he wants the show to be the best possible thing it can be.
Yeah.
It's not mean spirited. It's because he wants to have the perfect. He's constantly chasing the perfect show.
Sure.
And the things that he says are a lot of times for me very math related. How many minutes are left until break, and how many minutes left, and we got this overrun. And sometimes he takes the scenic route to explain it, but his intention there. I know what he's trying to say. I understand what he's trying to say, and it is helpful and for the betterment of all of us.
I love that term. Takes the scenic route to explain it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
We all know what that means.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryce, we just talked a little bit about Gorilla Monsoon. Our referee for this match is Joey Morella, the real-life son of Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
You obviously
socks, which is a no-no these days.
You obviously a fabulous referee. One I first saw on CZW way back when.
Jeez.
Yikes.
I'm
wearing the yellow and black beehive shirts.
When you were coming up as a professional wrestling referee, you mentioned going back and watching tape of matches, but were there any specific referees that you said, man, I like when he does this, or I like when that guy does that? Who were some of your inspirations as referees?
I was a big Tommy Young guy. I would love how he would kind of give it back. And a lot of, your father-in-law is big on this. Like, wrestling only works if we're all protecting the ecosystem. So if Tommy Young threatens or bows up to Ric Flair and he sells it, everyone thinks, oh, the referee's the business. The referee's the law and order. This is serious. So the way he reacts to Tommy Young, puffing his chest out to him, like, that's something that always sticks with me. However big the dude is, if it's freaking Satnam Singh, we have to look like we are in control, even if we aren't. My wife says I'm very good at being very bad at my job. But as long as we're looking like we're giving everyone the business, and it doesn't matter how big they are, how much they threaten us. You bring your shirt up, you show them the patches, they say okay, whatever you say, and you'll find, I think, an effective babyface or heel will respect that and react to that, because it kind of protects the whole snow globe what we're working for here, if that makes sense. And then later, I always used to enjoy Mark Curtis, Brian Hildebrand, because he was kind of a little wiry guy like me, and he would kind of get a little animated and get into it. And I always watch him do the cruiserweight matches in WCW. Mysterio Malenko, Guerrero Malenko, all those openers of the pay-per-views for a while. He was always often in there with them, and I always respected that he was able to kind of keep up with those guys too.
He was a great one.
The older lucha refs don't even get down to count. They're bending over, pounding on their knee a little bit. And Mark Curtis, he would get in there. He was quick, and I always appreciate that.